relating to post-election coalitions. The Speaker ought not to be a conduit for this decision insofar as it has the potential of curtailing the business of the House, which is an important constitutional arm of the national government. Secondly, you will also agree with me, honourable members, that the assertion by the honourable member for Gunja is flawed on account of the history I have given on the House relating to the rationale of introducing Standing Order 2B. It is indeed an established parliamentary practice that the Speaker is not a mere conveyor belt of information. The Speaker must apply his mind to any communication or document before it is presented to the House or admitted for use in the House. This is important in order to comply with the standing orders of this House and to protect the dignity of the House. Honourable members, in the present instance, Standing Order 2B expressly requires the clerk to obtain a certified copy of any coalition agreement to assist the Speaker to ascertain the relative majorities of the House and facilitate the transaction of the business of the House. Certification of the document and determination of its veracity and admissibility is of prime importance. You agree with me again, honourable members, that there would be chaos in this House if I was to make rulings on the basis of unauthenticated and verifiable and inadmissible documents that affect the rights of members. Honourable members, I do note that unless the Political Parties Act is amended or the House exercises powers to call for evidence under Article 125 of the Constitution, there currently exists no express statutory obligation to the Registrar to furnish the House with the coalition agreements as contemplated under Standing Order 2B. As a matter of fact, the 12th Parliament noted this particular gap and proposed amendments to the Political Parties Act, whose introduction I approved in my communication issued during the afternoon sitting of Tuesday. Those members of JPAC have a job to do to cure this lacuna. Honourable members, attempts were made by members during the afternoon sitting of Tuesday, 4th October 2022, to table coalition agreements in support of the claims by the Kenya Kwanza Coalition and Azimio la Umoja, One Kenya Coalition Party. You will recall that I ruled the document tabled by the Honourable Junet Mohammed as inadmissible owing to the inconsistencies that were apparent on the face of the document. The inconsistencies were glaring, especially in light of allegations made by the Honourable David Ocheng's denouncing association of both himself and his party with the coalition political party. Apart from being a member of this House, the Honourable David Ocheng is also the party leader of the Movement for Democracy and Growth, an alleged party to the document tabled by the Honourable Junet Mohammed. In light of the objections raised by the Honourable David Ocheng, the document became a center of particular with respect to its legality, validity, and admissibility. The attempt by the Registrar of Political Parties to convey what is said to be a certified copy of the document tabled by the Honourable Junet Mohammed on the 6th October 2022, that's today, has not met in a communication issued on Tuesday, 10th May 2022, while ruling on the tabling of papers by the then member for Wajir County, the Honourable Fatuma Gedi. The then Speaker ruled that in assessing the admissibility and or authenticity or otherwise of a document tabled in the House, the Speaker ought to examine whether the document, 1, relates to the matter for which it has been tabled, 2, is signed, and if it is a government document, by the authorized person, 3, bears the emblem or logo of the institution or person from which it originated or coat of arms in the case of documents from government agencies, 4, clearly indicates the author and person to whom it is addressed, 5, discloses the origin or source of the document, 6, bears certification where a document other than the original is being tabled, 7, electronic has been obtained from a source that does not permit alteration of content. And 8 is related to a claim made before the House or a committee or its content has a nexus with the claim. 9 is stamped and clearly indicates the person signing off the stamp. Honorable members, the honorable members take their seats. Honorable members, a perusal of the document tabled by the Honorable Junaid Mohammed and the version conveyed by the Registrar of Political Parties reveals glaring inconsistencies in both documents. With regard to signatures, there is no uniformity in the manner in which the various pages of the documents have been signed off or initialed. Some pages in the documents contain fewer signatures than others, while page 3 of both documents in particular contain signatures that are hardly visible. The pagination of the two documents is also inconsistent. Order, honorable members. The pagination of the two documents is also inconsistent. Page 1 to 22 bear page numbers. Several pages with signatures bear no page numbers, and a paginated page appears randomly between unpaginated pages. I'm inclined to think that these are superimpositions. Honorable members, may I at this point bring to the attention of the House that several members say belong to the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party have formally written to my office to denounce the association with the party. In a letter dated 9th September 2022 and received by my office on 22nd September 2022, the member for Kenya constituency, the Honorable David Ocheng, wrote to convey the decision of his party, the Movement for Democracy and Growth, to terminate its membership with the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party. In the letter, Honorable Ocheng also noted that his party is now a member of Kenya Kwanza Coalition. Honorable members, in letters received by my office on 1st and 22nd September 2022, the Honorable Kenneth Charo, the Honorable Gonzi Rai, and the Honorable Anton Kenga, who were all elected to Parliament on the Pamoja African Alliance party ticket, formally distanced themselves and their party from any association with the Azimio coalition. The three categorically noted that their party should only be associated with the Kenya Kwanza coalition, with which it has entered into its only existing coalition agreement. Additionally, honorable members, in a letter dated 16 September 2022 and received by my office on 19 September 2022, all the 7 members of Parliament elected to the National Assembly under the United Democratic Movement UDM, namely the Honorable Major Retired Bashir Abdullahi, the Honorable Hassan Kulo, the Honorable Haro Abdul Ibrahim, the Honorable Mangale Chiforomodo, the Honorable Yusuf Aden Haji, the Honorable Joseph Lekuton, the Honorable Omulkhair Kasim, the Honorable Suleha Harun, again distanced themselves and their party from an alleged coalition agreement with the Azimio coalition. Instead, they note in their letter that they are party to a post-election coalition agreement with the Kenya Kwanza coalition. It is their contention that their affiliation with the Kenya Kwanza coalition has seemingly been ignored by the Registrar of Political Parties. Honorable members, it will be recalled that during the debate on this matter on Tuesday this week, the Honorable Cheng, the Honorable Kasait Kamket, the Honorable Mwenge Mutuse, the Honorable Bashir Abdullahi, and the Honorable Kenneth Charo also did raise serious concerns as to membership of the Movement Democracy and Growth MDG, the Kenya African National Union KANU, the Maendeleo Chap Party, MCCP, the United Democratic Movement, UDM, and the Umoja African Alliance Party in the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party. At this stage, honorable members, the question that comes to my mind as your speaker is, what am I meant to do with these contentions? Honorable members, allegations were also made by a number of members on alleged coercion and duress while entering into agreements with one of the coalitions. This, all the honorable members, I have not finished what I'm saying. This, if true, is a serious affront to the democratic rights and freedoms that we enjoy as citizens of this country. As a citizen lawmaker and a lawyer, I note that the political freedoms granted to Kenyans by the Bill of Rights must be taken very seriously in the affairs of political parties. If I were to rely on the coalition agreements tabled before this House, I find great fault in any provision seeking to limit the political rights of members of this House. Honorable members, our Constitution is very rights-centric. In any ruling I make as your Speaker, I must be guided by the provisions of Article 3, Article 10, and Article 21 of the Constitution. These provisions require me to uphold, respect, and defend the Constitution whenever applying myself on any questions brought before me. I'm also under obligation to jealously protect the rights and freedoms guaranteed by the Constitution to all members of this House and indeed all Kenyans. You will note, honorable members, that even when making laws, all of you are enjoined under Article 24 of the Constitution to ensure that any limits you place on a right or freedom are expressly stated and that the limitation is reasonable and justifiable in an open and democratic society. Having looked at the drafting style of the Political Parties Act vis-à-vis the requirements of Article 24(2) of the Constitution, it is evident that the Political Parties Act does not manifest or declare any intent whatsoever to limit the rights guaranteed under Article 36 of the Constitution on the freedom of association and Article 8 of the Constitution on political rights. Honourable members, political rights are not absolute. They may be limited in a manner that is consistent with the provisions of Article 24 of the Constitution. Indeed, the Political Parties Act does not engage in the substantive limitations of rights, but only deals with procedural exercise of those rights in terms of timelines. Honourable members, indeed, the architecture of the Act is that timelines are only prescribed with respect to activities that fall before the election date, which seem to be related to the management of the election calendar. There are no timelines prescribed for activities after the election date. From the provisions of the Act, it appears that a person is at liberty to join and leave political parties as long as they notify the registrar of their actions. Honourable members, I'm not sure whether a provision of a coalition agreement regulating the period within which a member may exit a coalition to pass the test of being compliant with the Political Parties Act in the first instance, or the Constitution, or the Constitution in the second instance. Fortunately, that is not for me to decide. I trust those who are aggrieved will find their way to courts of law in exercise of their powers under Article 165 of the Constitution. Honourable members, noting that some of the matters raised were said to be pending either in the Political Parties Dispute Tribunal or the court, I shall refrain from pronouncing myself on such. Honourable members, let me now turn to the nexus between the letter from the Registrar of Political Parties and the several Gazette notices published by the IEBC with respect to your election or nomination as members of this House. Based on Gazette notices 9950 and 9951 of 2022, both dated 23rd August 2022, Gazette notice 10535 of 2022, dated 5th September 2022, Gazette Notice number 10537 of 2022, dated 7th September 2022, and Gazette Notice number 10710 of 2022, dated 9th September 2022, the current composition of the National Assembly by individual political parties is as follows. United Democratic Alliance UDA 145, Orange Democratic Movement ODM 86, Jubilee Political Party 28, Wiper Democratic Movement 26, United Democratic Movement 8, Amani National Congress 8, Ford Kenya 6, Kenya African National Union KANU 6, Democratic Alliance Party of Kenya 5, Pamoja African Alliance Party 3, Kenya Union Party 3, United Party of Independent Alliance UPIA 2, Maendeleo Chapchap 2, the Service Party TSP 2, United Progressive Alliance Party UPA 1, National Alliance Party of Kenya NAPK 1, National Ordinary People Empowerment Union NOPEU 1, Grand Dream Development Party 1, Democratic Party DP 1, Movement for Democracy and Growth MDG 1, Chama cha Mashinani 1. Honorable members, reference to the letter by the Registrar of Political Parties will give the cumulative number of the members of the constituent parties of what the Registrar refers to as the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party as 171 members and against 165 members of the constituent parties of what the Registrar refers to as the Kenya Kwanza Alliance. However, it is notable that a total of 14 members are drawn from 4 parties, that is UDM, MDG, MCP, and PA, who, according to the letter of the Registrar, have filed constitutional petitions and objections against their membership in Azimio. This implies that the letter from the Registrar may not be used to compute the membership of the majority and minority parties by dint of the admission contained in it on the existing constitutional petitions and objections. Honorable members, it will also be recalled that the members of UDM, MDG, MCCP, and PA have claimed they signed pre-election and post-election coalition agreements with the Kenya Kwanza Alliance Coalition. Cumulatively, the membership of the 4 parties in this House is 14. If these members were to be added to the 165 members of the initial constituent parties of Kenya Kwanza Coalition, the coalition would comprise a total of 179 members. Consequently, the Azimio coalition, and I have not finished this ruling at all. Order members, if you listen, I'm sure that you know the difference between if and when. I'm sure you know the difference between if and when. Consequently, the Azimio coalition would then comprise a total of 157 members. However, honorable members, the pending constitutional cases and objections by members of UDM, MDG, CCP, and PA, noted by the Registrar of Political Parties in addition to the letters sent by the members and the contentions recorded during Tuesday's sitting, have a profound bearing on the matter at hand insofar as the same relates to the business of the House. At this stage, honorable members, the House has a choice to either hold its proceedings and await the determination of matters that are before the Political Parties Disputes Tribunal or the courts, or to permit the Speaker to make a decision that facilitates this House to continue discharging its constitutional functions. In any event, all the honorable members, you will hear the speaker in silence. In any event, members are aware that the sub judice rule is a rule that the House imposes on itself. It can never be contemplated that the House can curtail the performance of its own mandate. Can the honorable members at the bar take their seats? Yes. Honorable members, take your seats or take your oath. I've given you. Okay, honorable members, as this includes, among others, the formation of not only the House Business Committee but also other key committees of the House, whose membership must be appointed within a prescribed timeline of 7 days, and others that are extremely critical to the functioning of this House and the national government. Honourable members, the committees that ought to be constituted within 7 days include the following: the House Business Committee, which determines, prioritizes, approves the business to be considered by this House under Standing Order 171. The Committee on Selection, which is responsible for nominating members to serve in committees under Standing Order 172. The Committee on Appointments, which is responsible for vetting of persons nominated to serve as Cabinet Secretaries under Article 152(2) of the Constitution. The Budget and Appropriations Committee, which is responsible for consideration of the budget estimates. The National Government Constituencies Development Fund Committee, which is responsible for overseeing the policy and legislative framework matters relating to NGCDF. This is especially important, noting the need for a forum to deliberate some current matters that you are all fully aware of. Honourable members, the disclosure by the registrar relating to the petitions and objections, the letters by the members of the four parties, the oral objections raised in this House, and the need to promote the continuity of the business of the House while respecting the due process of the courts of law presents this House with a complex situation that requires balanced consideration of the intent and philosophy behind the provisions of Article 108 and Article 124 of the Constitution. Honourable members, in determining this delicate balance between the provisions that establishes the leadership positions of the House and the provisions which empowers this House to make its own rules of procedure, due regard must be given to Article 3 of the Constitution, which requires all persons to protect, defend, and uphold the Constitution, and Article 10 of the Constitution, which requires one to apply the national values and principles of governance when interpreting the Constitution. Honourable members, I note that the four parties that I mentioned cumulatively comprise 14 members. The members elected this House under the four parties have exercised their freedom of association under Article 36 of the Constitution. They have already migrated to the Kenya Kwanza Alliance both in writing and in action. The parties are already enjoying the benefits accruing from their membership of the Kenya Kwanza Coalition, based on the coalition agreements that they signed and deposited with the registrar. Indeed, honourable members, as noted earlier, the 14 members have written to me, distancing themselves and their parties from the Azimio coalition, and have called upon the Speaker to recognize their coalition agreement with Kenya Kwanza with respect to the business of this House. I also did note the verbal representation made by the 14 members during the debate on Tuesday, the 4th of October. Honourable members, I started by noting the sentiments of the Honourable John Badi on the fact that the members comprising the leadership of Kenya Kwanza Coalition and the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party was not in contention. Indeed, no objection was raised during the debate on the issue of either proposing an alternative lineup or the alluding to the existence of any other coalition comprising any parties with the representation in this House. Having addressed the question of who between the Kenya Kwanza Coalition and the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition is entitled to appoint the leader of the majority party, allow me to discharge my responsibilities under Standing Order 19A4 and 24 with respect to the leadership of the House in the 13th Parliament. Honorable members, allow me now to address the House on the fate of the letters from Jeremiah Kioni before I come to that point, the Secretary General of the Jubilee Party, which I mentioned in my communication on Tuesday, 4th October. The Jubilee Party, and indeed any other parliamentary party, is at liberty to designate its party leaders and whips by dint of the provisions of Standing Order 20A, which provides for the recognition of parliamentary parties. Specifically, the Standing Order provides that a parliamentary party has the right to designate a leader and whip of the party in the House for purposes of the transaction of the business of the House. However, in parliamentary practice, the House frowns upon any purported communication emanating from strangers, especially if the matter relates to the internal organization of sections within the House. This is intended to ensure that the House only deals with persons that it can interact with and hold to account should need arise. For clarity, Standing Order 28.3 provides, and I quote, the names of the members designated as party whips shall be communicated to the Speaker in writing by the leader of the majority party on behalf of the majority party, by the leader of the minority party on behalf of the minority party, and the leader of a parliamentary party in the National Assembly in a case of a parliamentary party that is not part of the coalition forming the majority party or the minority party. In order to facilitate the transaction of the business of the House, the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party are required to forward to me the names of members who shall sit in the 5 critical committees that I mentioned earlier. Honorable members, Standing Order 1711F provides that apart from the House leadership, the House Business Committee consists of 9 other members nominated by the parliamentary parties, reflecting the relative majorities and taking into consideration the interests of parties other than parliamentary parties and independents. Furthermore, honorable members, Standing Order 1711C provides that besides the House leadership, the Committee on Selection consists of not less than 11 and not more than 21 members nominated by the parliamentary parties, reflecting the relative majorities and taking into consideration the interests of parties other than parliamentary parties and independents. Standing Order 2041 provides that apart from the leadership of the House, Committee on Appointments consists of not more than 15 other members nominated by the House Business Committee on the basis of proportional party membership, taking into account consideration the numerical strength of the parties and interests of independents. Honorable members, upon formation of the committees on selection, I will be asking the party leadership to nominate members for appointment to the rest of the committees within particular priority to the Budget and Appropriations Committee and the National Government Constituency Development Fund Committee. It is imperative that in nominating the members of the committees, majority and minority leaders should, as much as possible, take into account and consideration the gender representation, the need for national balance, and the interests of parties other than parliamentary parties and indeed the independents. As to the completeness of the membership of the aforementioned committees, you will note that I have reserved some slots for independent members in each of the 3 committees whose nomination ratios I have specified. This is to ensure adherence to the standing orders which require the recognition of the various shades of opinion represented in the House. As my predecessor noted in the 12th Parliament, the Speaker should protect the independent members and small parties in the nomination to and discharge from committees. Honourable members, in summary, therefore, my considered determination on the matter raised is as follows. 1. Alleged coercion. That the consideration of the various allegations of coercion and duress at the time of entering into coalition agreements and an appropriate remedy for the same lies outside the authority of this House. 2. The place of members of UDM, PA, MCCP, and MDG. That in my considered opinion, it would be imprudent to treat the 14 members elected to the House under the UDM, Pamoja African Alliance, Maendeleo Chap, and the Movement for Democracy and Growth, MDG, as part of a coalition that they have expressly distanced themselves from and their parties. I am therefore persuaded that the 14 members and their parties are part of the Kenya Kwanza coalition. This, in my view, would be fair and in accordance with the previous rulings by my predecessors on related matters. 3, that with the 14 members, the membership of the Kenya Kwanza coalition stands at 179 members, while the membership of the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition party stands at 157 members. This, by implication, indicates that the Kenya Kwanza coalition is the majority party, and the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition party is the minority party in this House. 4, that the Kenya Kwanza coalition is entitled to appoint the leader of the majority party, while the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition party is entitled to appoint the leader of the minority party. Consequent upon the foregoing, honourable members, the leadership of the majority party will be as follows. The member for Kikuyu constituency, the Honourable Kimani Ichung'wah. All the honourable members. All the honourable members. Can the members take their seats? The member for Kilifi North, the Honourable Owen Baya, is the deputy leader of the majority party. The member for South Mugirango, the Honourable Silvanos Osoro, is the majority party whip. The member for Marsabit County, the Honourable Naomi Jilo Wako, is the deputy majority whip. Leadership of the minority party. That with regard to the minority party, the member for Ugunja, the Honourable Opio Wandai, is the leader of the minority party. The member for Kadiani, the Honourable Robert Mbui, is the deputy leader of the minority party. The member for Suna East, the Honourable Junet Mohammed, is the minority party whip. And the nominated member, the Honourable Sabina Chege, is the Deputy Minority Whip. The letters from the Secretary General of the Jubilee Party, I have already touched on those and we need not bother about them. That with respect to the House Business Committee, the leader of the Majority Party, the Honourable Kimani Ichung'wah, and the leader of the Minority Party, the Honourable Opio Wandai, are directed to submit not more than 4 members each to my office, latest by 10 a.m. on Tuesday, 11th October 2022. That with respect to the composition of the Committee on Selection, the leader of the Majority Party and the leader of the Minority Party are to submit 10 members and 9 members respectively to my office by the same date. That composition of the Committee on Appointments, that with respect to the composition of the Committee on Appointments, the leader of the Majority Party, the Honourable Kimani Ichung'wah, MP, and the leader of the Minority Party, the Honourable Opiyo and I, MP, are to submit not more than 7 members each to my office latest 10 a.m. on Tuesday, 11th October 2022. That upon receipt of the names of the members of the House Business Committee, the clerk is hereby directed to cause the list to be published in the order paper on Tuesday, 11th October 2022. The clerk is also directed to ensure that the names of the members to serve in the Committee on Selection and the Committee on Appointments are presented to the House Business Committee when the committee sits on Tuesday, 11th October 2022. That while it will be construed in the interim that the minority party has designated its leadership, the leader of the minority party, the Honorable Opiyo and I, MP, is hereby required to regularize the designation of the whip and the deputy whip of the minority party according with the requirements of Standing Order 20A3. Remember, previously we were notified by the Honorable Junet. It's actually now the Honorable Wandai to notify the leadership and the Speaker on who your whips are. That with respect to any member belonging to any party other than a parliamentary party, as your Speaker, I will endeavor to ensure the power afforded to me by Standing Order 174(2)B is upheld. I will not accept or approve any list of committee membership that does not take into account the interests of independent members and parties other than parliamentary parties, the ones we commonly refer to as small parties. That pursuant to Standing Order 259, the marked seats in the front row of the chamber to my right and to my left are reserved for the persons occupying the offices of leadership of the majority party and the leadership of the minority party, respectively. That in accordance with Article 108 of the Constitution, the Parliamentary Service Act 209 and Standing Order 19, the Clerk of the National Assembly is hereby directed to take the necessary measures to facilitate the leadership of the House that has been appointed to move into their respective offices and access all other entitlements relating to their offices as has been approved by the Salaries and Remuneration Commission and the Parliamentary Service Commission. In conclusion, honorable members, today's guidance has been informed by my solemn duty to facilitate the continuity of the business of this House. The House will be at a standstill without a clear guidance on the leadership of the House. It is so directed. We now go back to the debate on the presidential address. Yes, the Honorable Wandai.
Yes, the Speaker, I have listened keenly to your ruling on this contentious issue. Whereas, of course, I don't agree with it, I would wish to acknowledge the fact that this House operates in a quasi-judicial manner. And therefore, in line with the rules of natural justice, tenets of democracy, and established jurisprudence, I would wish to give notice that we shall be moving, Mr. Speaker, shall be moving you to review your decision. And for that reason, Mr. Speaker, I'll be asking you to give me opportunity to make certain submissions or to make an application for you to review your decision, which is obviously in line with the established jurisprudential practice. I will be again asking you to direct the clerk to facilitate my coalition with the certified copies of your ruling, if possible, by close of business today. Mr. Speaker, I say this with tremendous respect to your office and to the institution of Parliament. Mr. Speaker, it's important for us to establish a culture of openness, transparency, and indeed to work consciously towards entrenching democracy and the rule of law. So I will be asking Mr. Speaker to allow me to make that application formally at the earliest possible opportunity. Mr. Speaker, I'm seeking leave.
Order, honorable members. Honorable members, in the tradition of the House and our standing orders and practice, once the Speaker makes a ruling such as the one I have made, is not subject to debate, it is not appealable, and it stands as it is. I want to take the opportunity, the Honorable Wandai and all members of the House, to salute you and thank you for the decorum that you have exhibited through the close to 1 hour that I delivered the ruling. I want to encourage the House that a decision has been made. Let the chips lie where they fell. Take up your offices. Carry out a robust and vibrant oversight of the government, and make sure that public resources from taxpayers are put to good use. Audit them vigorously, and make sure that you do everything possible within the law to ensure that we have a responsible parliament, with both sides being responsive to the needs of the people of Kenya. There will be no further debate on this matter. You know the rules. You are all very senior members, honorable members, and the new colleagues who have come in want to learn from you, and don't give them misdirections on procedure. I want now to go to the next order that we had abandoned, to take the ruling, and I'll give the floor to the Honorable Member Abdikader Mohamud of Lagdera. On the same matter? The same Order, Honorable Member. Order, Honorable Junet. Order, Honorable Members. Honorable Junet. Order, Honorable Junet. I have given direction. The ruling of the chair is a public document. It will be on the parliamentary website. You can get it in the course of the evening or tomorrow, depending on what the clerks will do. And you can analyze it, you can critique it, you can do many things about it except debating it on the floor of this House. I indulge the distinguished member for Ugunja, being your leader, to make a comment which he did, and we've taken it in the stride, and I've given him direction, and you can see how distinguished he is in respect of what I've said. I want to urge you members that we have called the next order which we had left before the ruling, and the member for Lagdera, if he's on the floor, he can continue the debate. If he is not, we give the floor to the next member. Go on, member.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Lagdera, if you want to sit your position. We can give to somebody else.
Proceed. Right now. Thank you.
Order, honorable members, order. Order, honorable members. Order. Honorable members, order. Order, honorable members. The member for Lagdera, you will forfeit your position. You don't have to speak. Order, honorable members. Order, honorable members. Order. Order, honorable members. Yes. Yes. Order, honorable members. Order, honorable members. Order, honorable members. It's Wanjala who grabbed the mess. Order, honorable members. Order, honorable members. Order, honorable members. Order, honorable members. Order. Give me. Honorable members, order, honorable members, this House will stand adjourned until Tuesday. Order. The House will be adjourned until Tuesday, the 11th of October, 2022 at 2:30 p.m. Order.
Na huria wona ta hau kabere ni speaker wa bunge ya bururi Moses Petangula niwe gutithanagia ni mwahu uriku wina atongoria aria aige thiini wa bunge ya kibururi na kwarikia kwanirwa ati mwahu wa Kenya Kwanza niwe wina atongoria aria aige mubunge wa mwena wa Kikuyu Kimani Ichung'wa niwe ukorwe mutongoria wa aria aige thiini wa bunge nake Silvanus Osoro niwe muhiuria wa musharisha wa aria aige na munini wake Naomi Wako. Oho mundu gwitwo Opio Wandai no gutwika mutongoria wa aria anini thiini wa bunge. Riboti yo ni muguthi na mbere tuguthi na mbere kumemukira andikitwo mohoro ni marathi na mbere na kumehariria thiini wa mohoro maitu ma Inooro hwaini na Inooro thaa 3 kwa hinda riri tutirihe matemo maitu ma muthenya wa umuthi ni njitagwo Jabi wa Njauchemanie themwe.